This is called the bootstrap paradox. Google it. The time traveler panics. He can't bear the thought of a world without the music of Beethoven. Luckily, he brought all of his Beethoven sheet music for Ludwig to sign. So he copies out all the concertos and the symphonies, and he gets them published. He becomes Beethoven.
It's astounding. Time is fleeting. Madness takes its toll. But listen closely.
Not for very much longer.
I've got to keep control. I remember doing the time war. Drinking those moments when the blackness would hit me and the voice would be calling. Let's do the time war again. Let's do the time war again.
Okay.
Welcome, Dead Men Walking, Arcatinians, and cliched love interests to the 127th episode of an Unearthly Podcast. Streaming live on the 14th of October 2015, and featuring Before the Flood, written by Toby Whithouse. I am Bill Sylvia, the Man in Black, and with me are Mad Matt Winchell,
Hello.
Randy Ronson McCulloch,
I actually wrote Beethoven symphonies.
and Tim the Enchanter Sheridan.
Word phrase.
And
Fuck
I
you.
see that Rand is taking advantage of the fact that he was the only one not changing his greeting every week.
Brought to you
I
by
will-
Coney Island Brewing Company.
I'm going to do it every now and again, just not frequently.
I
Oh.
just came up with mine now.
And
too.
Erin Romeo Moonberg will not be joining us tonight because we had a very bad sleep night last night, and she's going to make up for it.
She's in a suspended animation chamber.
Mm-hmm. And enjoying the joys of not having a smoke detector go chirping off at 2 a.m.
Which deserves a hammer so hard.
I almost requested, when maintenance took it away, I almost requested that they leave it so I could beat the crap out of it later, a la Office Space, but I was just too grateful to be able to go to sleep.
I'll hit it later.
So we're going to go straight to the news. We have a few pieces of news. Actually, let's start with some birthdays. A happy birthday to actress Nicola Bryant, known as Perry Perpigelium Brown, who turned 55 on Sunday, the 11th.
Good for her.
And if you've a longtime listener of the podcast, you will remember the fact that Perry, while playing Nicola, while playing the American Perry, is actually an English actress, as known by her inability to say the word glass. Also, happy birthday to Katie Manning, known as Josephine Jo Grant, or later Jo Jones, who turned 69 today on Wednesday, the 14th of October. You might last remember seeing Jo in the Sarah Jane Adventures, where she attended the doctor's funeral. And she was also interviewed quite a few times during the 50th anniversary, if I recall. Happy birthday, Katie Manning.
And if what I understand about her personality is at all accurate, she might be quite tickled by the fact that it's the 69th year.
Probably.
Ha ha ha.
She was a companion during that time of our generation.
Yeah, and that one particular Dalek image, you know.
Yeah. I was thinking
Which
about that.
apparently the person who gave her those boots that she wore in that image did not appreciate it.
Oh. I would be honored if I gave her those boots. In fact, I would ask for those boots right back.
Strange
Okay.
fetishes aside, let's move on.
Alright, so, from birthdays to...
Going to be one of those episodes tonight, isn't it?
Oh
Sad
my, give me
departings.
some more of this hard root beer.
Actor and stunt arranger Derek Ware, who appeared in at least 21 episodes of Doctor Who throughout the 1960s and early 70s, has died at the age of 77. Ware appeared in the second ever episode and first ever fight scene of Doctor Who in 1963, and continued working in front of and behind the camera through The Claws of Axos. He also worked on such television shows and films as Z-Cars, The Italian Job, Kroll, Willow, and Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Damn,
Yeah,
he made a
that's
lot of
actually-
good shit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
Kroll,
quite a
Willow,
career.
and Prince of Thieves right there is good enough. I guess he
Yeah.
must have been like a bit actor for
Fantasy
early
and
Doctor
stuff.
Who.
From what I can tell from the article, basically what he did in a lot of episodes was that while he was arranging stunts, he would be an actor in the scene to make that a bit of a simpler process.
Mm.
So
And
that
also-
way he was physically there on the set while
Ah,
while doing his part of the coordinating.
yeah.
It says in
So-
1970 he formed Havoc, a team of specialist stunt performers who regularly worked on the Third Doctor's era of the show. And that's
Oh.
a killer name for a group of stuntmen.
Yeah, no kidding.
Heck, it's not a bad name for like a spy agency. Who knows?
Oh.
Maybe that's what he was really up to.
What would the anagram be, or the acronym be, of Havoc?
I'd have to think about that.
You mean for a spy agency or for what he actually for the stunts?
The spy agency. Or the stunts. Well, let's think of the spy agency first. Joe, let's think about it later, because we could do that all night.
Yeah.
We could be sitting here speculating that all night. Let's kind of wait for an after the podcast thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Robin
let's.
Hood, Willow, and Kroll. Damn.
Yeah.
And the Italian Job. Which one? The original?
Yeah, it would have to be the original Italian Job.
Bro. God, he had a good film history.
All right, so from our birthdays and lost stories, we move on to before the full-on news, we have, of course, our ratings for the most recent episode. We have 4.38 million viewers watched Before the Flood in the overnight figures, which is an audience share of 21.5%, which was up from the previous week's 16%, which was helped by the lower rating for Rugby World Cup on ITV. I'm not, let's see. Okay, it was because that was, I'm not sure who the host country is, but someone versus Uruguay, but it does say England is out of the competition, so we can assume rugby ratings in Britain will be down for a bit.
Yeah, not to mention the raids that must have been
Which
going
is a
on
good
in
thing for
London.
Doctor Who, but probably a bad thing for English rugby fans.
Yep, pretty much.
Yep.
Not surprisingly, top for the day was Strictly Come Dancing with 8.91 million. We move on to our audience appreciation index, which was an 83, which puts us at 84, 83, 84, 83 so far this season,
Up them, up them, up them.
which is from a selected panel of about 5,000 people in England, in this case, being an English program, who go online and rate and comment.
Yeah. So down a little bit, huh? Because
Just
we've
a
been.
touch, but it might be a nitpicker.
Yeah. But again, it's the same score that The Witch's Familiar got, so I'm really not surprised by it being that 1 point down.
Yeah. Apparently, they really don't like the second part of two-parters.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if they just round up or round down depending upon the numbers. And it's just a small time margin that just decides which way it wins.
So it's possible like it could have been like an 83.6 one week and an 83.4 the next.
Yeah.
Entirely possible. We have our Australian overnight ratings as well, averaging 511,000 viewers in the 5 major capital cities. It was the second highest rating ABC drama of the day as compared to, I think it's normally the first, isn't it? And the 19th highest rating program of the day overall, which is pretty much where it normally falls. As usual, these ratings do not include regional or time-shifted viewers.
Until later.
We also have the fact that including time-shifted viewers, The Witch is Familiar, which was episode 2 of this season, averaged a total of 734,000 consolidated viewers in the 5 major capital cities. Which makes it with 192,000 viewers, that makes it the highest time-shifted program of the day, and the 7th highest-rated program of the day overall. And of course, these ratings do not include regional viewers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Also, of course, we have the official ranking for Under the Lake. Which has finished is a total official rating of 5.63 million viewers. This is, of course, issued by BARB, the Broadcasters Audience Research Board. It includes those who all watch the program within 1 week of transmission. It does not include those watching online via iPlayer. That makes Under the Lake the second most watched program for the week on all UK television. It was the 10th most watched program on BBC television. It beat out Casualty, which beat it in overnight figures, but lost in the time shift, and was the 3rd most watched show on Saturday night. The Great British Bake Off topped the chart with 12.65 watching, and then Strictly Come Dancing with 9.27.
All right. That's good. Mm-hmm. Well, from old episodes to new episodes, we have some new publicity photos for The Girl Who Died, which will be the next episode in the current series. It shows the Doctor and Clara being captured by Vikings. And I'm not sure if this guy is supposed to be Odin or just a big fan of Odin.
As far as I'm aware, he is
The guy with
Odin.
the eye patch is Odin, yes.
He is referring to himself as Odin, at least.
You know, his costume vaguely reminds me of the pirate captain from the Pirate Planet serial back in the 80s.
Just a bit, yeah.
Except he doesn't have the robotic hawk on his shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
I sort of like his foot soldier is like the blocky golem like
critters, yeah.
Critters on his side.
There's an interesting photo of Odin and the Doctor staring at each other like neither one believes the other exists.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can't. Oh, the second row on the far right.
Yeah. I mean, it could be a variety of things, but just looking at the photo with no context, that's what it comes off as to me.
Yeah, the one before it makes the Doctor look more flippant at Odin.
Or deep in conversation, one of the two.
Well, the look on his face is almost a sneer. I wasn't really talking about the conversation. I was talking about the expression on his face.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if he's speaking, like, that could just be his mouth moving from a word.
Well, let's face it. This is the 12th Doctor. If his mouth is moving, it's most likely insulting or a sneer.
Fair point.
Or something about him not trusting what he's actually seeing.
And Clara, I think, is wearing the classic
infamous
spacesuit, although it does look to be a bit. It looks like it was steam cleaned recently.
Yeah, a bit.
Well, that thing has to be. The TARDIS has to have its own dry cleaning facilities.
I mean, I think it has several now too, because this one is clearly cut to fit Clara, whereas the other would have been, dangling from her relatively small limbs.
Considering the fact that it was actually originally built for David Tennant and has since been retailored for Matt Smith,
And Clara's
retailored
what,
again for Capaldi,
yeah.
and now retailored for Clara.
And
don't
those are
know.
three, I'm pretty sure those three are three relatively tall men, at least, in the tallish neighborhood, whereas Clara, or, Jenna Coleman, is not considered to be particularly tall,
Yes,
considering that
but-
there have been scenes where she needs to stand on a stool or other aid in order to fit in the scene.
I was actually going to remark on how thin Tennant is compared to Smith and Capaldi.
That's also true.
Gotcha.
So
But
that thing must have been retailored repeatedly.
Also, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they have a small wardrobe closet of various sizes at this point.
It's like
In
any
the TARDIS.
clothes that come into the TARDIS scans it and makes any model in any size you want. It would
Male
not
and female.
surprise me. It happens.
Yeah, the TARDIS seems to know what needs to be there, and obviously you're going to need spacesuits at
Well,
one point or
remember,
another.
the Fourth Doctor's TARDIS had a smaller female version of his outfit in it.
Yep.
Exactly. Complete with white and pink scarf.
Well,
True.
that was the retool version. Yeah.
Yeah.
She originally came out the first time in an exact copy of his
An
outfit.
exact copy,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then she got the pink version of the same outfit. Damn it, the page won't blow up that bottom left one that I'm just trying to look at a little more closely.
Apparently, Maisie Williams has some time hanging out with Clara.
Obviously.
Yeah, we saw that in the Series 9 trailers as well, when they're talking about that the Doctor will come up with a plan and whatever it is, it'll be brilliant.
Yeah, she very much looks like she's a Norse native in this, so it's going to be very surprising when she does show up. We
mentioned in the synopsis that she's a member of the village that they're showing up in.
Yeah, and then she'll show up in the next episode, and the Doctor's going to be like, "The fuck."
In the third row, third image, the Doctor is holding a camcorder.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I've got to videotape this.
And I'll sell it to Marvel.
I don't know. I kind of like Marvel's Odin better.
A wee bit better.
Then lower down, we get Odin and Maisie Williams practicing making faces for the camera.
Publicity photos.
Yep. Various sneers. One thing I'm going to keep an eye out for in this episode is how many times the eye patch switches eyes. I think they've managed to keep it consistent in the photos, but you never know when they're actually filming and editing.
Yep.
Does anyone remember what... I'm
the
sorry.
thing is, this Odin is not going to be as epically badass as he could have been.
Oh?
Could you imagine if they had gotten Brian Blessed?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, speaking of which, I forgot. I was going to include him. Wasn't it his birthday this week?
Oh!
I forgot to
I
jot
could sort
it
something came up
down.
with him.
On October 9, he turned 79.
For all of those of you who in the audience who don't know who Brian Blessed is, and if you don't know who he is, shame on you.
And if you haven't been watching this podcast, that's for sure.
Fly, my Hawkmen!
Second row, second photo. Is that Daenerys?
Live.
I don't think so. Because I don't think...
It's a little blurry, but it looks kind of like her.
Kind of like her, but I don't think it is. Because I think if she'd been in this episode alongside Maisie Williams, it would have been huge publicity.
Oh man, I would have paid big money to see Brian Blessed do this role now.
Game of Thrones crossover confirmed.
God, yeah, Brian Blessed being Odin would have just been like, wow. Of course, they can't because he was King Yrkarnos, but that was 30 years ago, I'm
That was
sure.
30 years ago. People would have forgotten.
Do you know how many actors and actresses from the 60s, 70s, and 80s have returned to New Who with no one having any clue it was the same actress?
Yeah, I
Next to
would have. I'm surprised the castings thing didn't think of let's hire Brian Blessed.
No, seriously, that's High Brian Blessed. He's gonna be the best ever.
He'll be the greatest Odin ever, and he'll do it for a sandwich.
And the chance to yell at people for no damn discernible reason.
Yeah, I'm gonna feel that's a little bit of a disappointment now going into next week's episode.
God damn it. It started off a -1 already to the score. You should have casted better.
It's also too bad they couldn't afford Anthony Hopkins.
Or Anthony Hopkins, yeah.
I don't know.
Anthony Hopkins would be a little too on the mark for a Marvel crossover, but
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. I suspect this guy's more of a bellowy Odin than a.
Than the laid-back King Odin,
Yeah.
possibly.
And I would have loved to see a bellowy Odin.
It has
bellowy
to be
Odin to go with the
bellowy
bellowy doctor.
Odin.
Just try to have them outshout each other. You realize Brian Blessed would win.
Yes.
Okay, so let's.
I think that would be the return of I am talking to Doctor Who.
That'd be actually pretty awesome. Okay, let's move on. I think we've taken enough time on this.
Yeah.
Oh my.
And that does bring it back to me. Okay. Doctor Who will be dubbed into Italian for a special screening of The Magician's Apprentice at Lucca Comic and Games Festival in Italy on the 30th of October. So, see if it's, I'm not sure if it's, I'm sure if we go to the festival's website, it'll say where it is, but for fans in Italy who want to see The Magician's Apprentice in Italian, that I guess is the festival for you.
That's the Clara. I'm having fun, hanging out in the Renaissance and having fun. It's my death party.
And
I've
of
just
course the
offended
website
everyone
isn't
in Italy.
Italian, so I couldn't really, yeah, the entire website's in Italian, so I couldn't really tell you what's supposed to be the name of the city or whatever the hell it's in because I don't speak Italian.
Mamma mia, spaghetti, ravioli. Woohoo.
Wow. Okay, I thought I was offending Italians.
Now that the Italian audience we've recommended to watch this has just stopped listening to them in our podcast.
Bye, Italian audience. See you all next week.
No.
Let's see. Del Fomento, I think. I'm not sure. I was also checking to see if I could figure out what city it's in. But
I'm wondering if Lucca might be the name of the city.
it might be.
Probably. Sounds familiar.
That sounds like a city I've heard of.
Mm-hmm.
But it also sounds like the name of the.
Reaganomics.
Yeah. Well, you'll know if you're in Italy, Italy, very good, Randy. If you've heard of Lucca Comics and Games, you probably know where this is. So, yep, they're having a special screening.
Go watch, enjoy.
We have more good news. It sounds like we're not going to be having a Lost Stories episode for John Hurt anytime soon. Apparently, his cancer is in full remission. He has been given the all clear for his pancreatic cancer. He has talked to the Daily Mail at the joy of being given the all clear and how it all looks great for the future.
Can't wait to see more audios from you, John Hurt.
This is very good because wasn't Big Finish doing some War Doctor audios?
Yes.
Yeah.
It would have been horrible if they'd had to cancel those.
Which I think the internet was kind of speculating that because despite his cancer he wanted to keep acting, that audio might be more convenient for him while he's undergoing cancer treatment than some of the live action stuff.
Possibly.
I mean, obviously, once he's agreed to something, I don't get the impression he would back out anyway. So even if he resumes regular acting, He wouldn't
Well,
back out
no.
a big finish just because he doesn't have cancer.
I am remembering, of course, the death of Elizabeth Sladen, where she had just agreed,
Right.
less
And
than a month
same
previous
with
to do some.
same with Kate O'Mara.
Where
Speaking
she
of
had-
that, we'll get to that.
Yep.
Oh,
But,
Kate O'Mara, yeah.
But yeah, so when I hear that he was doing that, first of all, we hear that he had been diagnosed with cancer, and then had signed up for a bunch of Big Finish. I was wondering if we were going to have history repeat itself. Fortunately, no. He is looking great on things. He was speaking. He said he had his final scan yesterday, aka Monday, and saw my oncologist this morning. I'm overjoyed. I'm thrilled. It all looks great for the future. It's fantastic. Wow.
Can't wait, John.
Fantastic.
Even
So
in
you
the-
know he's the doctor.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. I was looking for a way to segue into that, but you just decided to blunderbuss into it.
Thank you, Christopher Eccleston. Christopher.
You know, I bet John Hurt's actually pretty thrilled he gets to be on the list of doctors,
Yeah.
Somehow I get the feeling too.
because that's a pretty prestigious
I mean,
list.
I get the feeling
Yeah.
he is just because he agreed to come back and do 12 hours worth of audio. You don't do that if you're not a fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
He
means
doesn't
that he's
need the paycheck, I don't think.
No.
Yeah, that probably means though in the future he'll be hanging out with Peter Davidson, Colin
Oh,
Baker,
God,
Sylvester
I'm just-
McCoy.
Well, he's
I
probably
was
getting
gonna
to
say,
hang out with
I'm-
Tom
I'm
right now.
I'm picturing you already have the amazing convention conversations between the 80s doctors. Add John Hurt to those panels.
To have, well, if we could ever get Eccleston to do something like that, could you imagine having Paul McGann, John Hurt, and Eccleston all on the same panel?
I mean,
I'm
Paul
imagining it
McGann
right
usually
now.
seems to be pretty quiet on panels, as far as I can tell. But obviously having the three in the same room would be pretty amazing anyway. But
Yeah, it would be. I mean, I would kill for a lineup like that at GeekCon. Not that I'll ever see it, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, moving on. Series producer Paul Thames has reported to us that there will shortly be an announcement over the future of K9, who appeared in his own series back in 2009. This announcement will be made by him and K9 co-creator Bob Baker at the DWAS convention Back to the 80s, which takes place on the 24th October. Also, the duo will be signing copies of their book, The Essential Book of K9, at the Comic Guru store in Cardiff on October 10th, Saturday, which celebrates 12 years of comic and
that's
sci-fi
all.
Doctor Who.
Yeah.
What?
Oops, that happened 4 days ago.
Apparently, but I didn't realize the date when I jotted down the
The script. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that is true.
Oh well.
So
And the Essential Book of K9 is all you ever wanted to know about the world's favorite robot dog from the inside out.
So yeah, I had pretty much given up hope that they were going to do more on the K9 series, which wasn't bad. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. It was pretty mediocre to start with, got good, and it was decent, by the conclusion of that original series of it. But then, we didn't hear anything about it for, 6 years.
I'm kind
By
of
this point, the boy that was the friend and companion of K9 in the series is an adult now and going to college.
Yeah.
So I figured the series was pretty dead.
I'm kind of hoping that by the future of K9 they mean that hopefully maybe somehow they're gonna get him back on Doctor Who.
Well, I doubt it, because Doctor Who doesn't seem to be that interested.
I mean, Stephen Moffat, I know, has voiced that he would has had interest in including K9 and things.
Now,
Bring it back.
what wasn't this new K9 series supposed to be like separate from the Doctor Whoverse?
It was
Yes,
sort of.
because they had the rights to K9, but not the rights to Doctor Who. And by the way, I did just look up the name of the producer they mentioned. When they say series producer, they mean K9 series producer, not Doctor Who series
Yeah, I knew
producer.
that.
It wasn't very clear in the article.
I knew that.
I kind of
Gotcha.
figured that.
The series itself alluded to Doctor Who, but very vaguely, enough that they didn't step on any toes.
Yeah.
It was a independent, I believe it was an Australian-Canadian co-production.
Yes,
For
that
sure
sounds right.
Australian.
That's also just like how at one point there were some audio adventures featuring K9, where he traveled through ectospace with the Mistress, played by Lala Ward, but they could not call her Romana, and they could not
Yeah.
call it E-Space.
Yeah, but that was more Bill Baggs style.
Right.
This was more along the lines that he mentioned, that it basically alludes the fact that it's K9 Mark 1 from the Time War, but without actually using the phrases Mark 1 and Time War. So
Interesting.
Mark 1, that would be the one that lived with Leela
yep.
and appeared in Zagreus.
Yep.
And probably appeared in a few episodes of Gallifrey as well.
Probably. Most likely.
Yep.
It might have met Mark II, in fact.
Because the way they dealt with that is they gave K9 a form of amnesia, missing data, corrupted data files.
Ah.
By the way, Matt, you mentioned Mark II in Zagreus at least, and I'm assuming in Gallifrey as well. Mark I and Mark II do meet each other.
Woo!
And that's how they're able to tell each other are trustworthy.
Yeah, because in those things, Romana returns from E-Space, becomes president of Gallifrey, brings K9 with her, and then, of course, Mark I's already living on Gallifrey with Leela. Therefore, yeah, you have whole scenes where John Leeson's talking to John Leeson.
And just
It's kind of
wagging the
confusing.
robot tail.
I'd buy that for $1.
Affirmative. Next.
All right. So, what's the next article? I think that's you, Bill.
Enemy of the World, Web of Fear.
Is it? Okay. Oh, yeah, because that was Tim, wasn't it?
Yep.
So that would be... commentaries have been announced for Enemy of the World and Web of Fear. Longtime listeners of the podcast might remember that Enemy of the World and Web of Fear were recently found, released on DVD, and subsequently reviewed for this podcast. I believe that was this past December, right?
Along those lines.
Or was it the previous December?
When they were released?
When we reviewed them.
I think
year
it was.
for sure.
I think it was last year, so it was like last October, November, somewhere in
Right.
there.
Yeah.
And of course, the two are season 5 stories featuring Patrick Troughton alongside Victoria and Jamie. The commentaries will be released on both CD and download formats and will feature Deborah Watling, who played Victoria on both. Enemy of the World will also feature Mary Peach, Milton Johns, Carmen Monroe, and Bill Lyons. And Web of Fear will also will feature Ralph Watson, John Levine, who played Sergeant Benton. Is it? Is that John Levine? I'm pretty sure. And
I think so.
and Derek Martin.
Benton.
It's interesting because Benton did not appear in. I guess he's standing in for Nicholas Courtney,
Quite
who
possibly.
obviously cannot appear due to having unfortunately passed.
Yeah.
Producer Paul Ballard mentions that commentaries have long been a favorite part of his viewing of any of the classic Who DVDs, and they thought it was a huge shame to let these two brilliant stories pass under the radar, and set about gathering quite a stellar lineup to commentate on them. He also advised the only way we can make these and future releases viable is by fans supporting the project and buying copies rather than bootlegging them. Were there to be any future returns, and I'm sure we're all hopeful of that, then we would want to be able to look at repeating the exercise because it's a hugely culturally important one. So, just like the issue with Big Finish, they're basically saying, if you bootleg these, there's not going to be able to afford to make any more. So please, if you're interested,
Try to get the
purchase
official
them
release.
legally.
So, by the way, we did review Enemy of the World, Web of Fear immediately following Series 8. So
Yeah, it would have been last November, December.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
all right, and so there is a auction going on at the Birmingham's Millennium Point. Actually, that auction has passed.
Don't.
You really need to check that. Including Dr. Hoot, which was a large, full-size TARDIS-shaped
Oh,
owl.
actually,
Or tower.
it's ending tomorrow.
Excuse me.
Tomorrow, as in the 15th, because
Yes.
that would mean today if it's British, because normally these are British.
Yeah, so it would
Birmingham,
be
I
ending
believe,
today.
is British. So by the time this is on YouTube, the auction will probably be over.
Yep.
Actually, it'll be probably like the crack of dawn, so they got the entire rest of the day yet to get there.
Okay, so
Alright.
artist Stephen McKay
Tiny.
is a longtime Doctor Who fan. His police box owl design was inspired by the conventions he attended in Birmingham in the early 1980s. The police box owl with its working lamp, made by McKay, has attracted a lot of interest in the UK and America, and with a starting price of £5,000, is hoped will raise substantially more for the Children's Hospital. The top price previously paid for a work by McKay was £25,000 in aid of Bristol's Children's Hospital in 2013. So,
this might go up there.
yeah, you might be ponying up something in the lines of $50,000 for a owl colored like the TARDIS.
It's got working light.
It's bigger on the inside.
So if you are a huge Doctor Who fan with a huge wallet, that's something to consider.
Besides, think of the children.
Will someone please think of the children?
And the rest of the hospital.
Oh.
I don't know. I'm looking at this. It's just my brain. It hurts my brain actually, because my brain waffles between looking at it, going, "It's the TARDIS," and the old "Give a hoot, don't pollute" commercials. What was that? Woodsy the owl?
Yeah, Woodsy.
So my
How
brain
many licks
tries.
does this take for the TARDIS to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop?
Oh, thank you. Now you've added another one to me, Bill.
1, 2, 3.
Coming up next year at GeekCon, Randy hits Bill in the junk with a baseball bat.
Alrighty.
That's for
How many
hurting my
whacks does it take
brain.
to break your balls?
Golf
Well-
club to the crotch.
Good
Play
on
some
you.
Cricket. Hey, we go to
All
that,
right.
Tim.
Well, going on to Big Finish news, there's going to be a box set coming out, Doctor Who Doom Coalition 1. And I'm guessing that means there's going to be a Doom Coalition 2.
Possibly.
Yes, Doom Coalition 2 is the one that it was announced that River Song will be appearing in.
So this features the 8th Doctor saga, and it features the stories The 11 by Matt Fitton, The Red Lady by John Dorney, The Galileo Trap by Mark Platt, The Satanic Mill by Edward Collier.
The 11 is also the story that featured the events in the trailer we listened to a few weeks back, which had also the appearance by Sylvester McCoy, although we don't actually know yet how he ties into the plot.
Interesting.
Yeah, this is here. And the series will continue in March 2016 with Doctor Who Doom Coalition 2. Interesting.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
If that's March 2016 and the Time War is not until October 2017, I hope there's some sort of 8th Doctor release scheduled in between those.
Oh, and I guess I should mention Doom Coalition 1 is available now. That might be helpful to someone.
Available now!
Yes. Also, there's going to be a new Finnish audio, Doctor Who Planet of the Rani, which will be the 205th release, and it sees the return of Shaban Redmond's renegade time lady to menace the Sixth Doctor, Colin Baker, and his new companion, Constance Clark, played by Miranda Raisin. It was written by Mark Platt. It is available to buy on CD or download today. And don't forget, all Big Finish CD orders through the website also come with a complimentary download so you can be listening only minutes after ordering.
Woo!
Woohoo!
Instant access!
Yes.
I noticed the Planet of the Ronnie thing also has the listing for Shield of the Jotun at the bottom, which I'm finding ironic considering what's next week on Doctor Who.
Right. I think we actually mentioned that when Shield of the Jotun was first announced.
Yeah, but now it's closer. I'm feeling it more.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's all of our news that's fit to state.
Yep.
Yep.
That's all the printed stuff for Doctor Who.
All right.
Very good.
Back to Brian Blessed.
Yeah.
Gordon's alive!
Fly, my Hawkmen!
Yes. I've always been a fan of Brian Blessed. Members of our that listen to Matt and I when we do Lounge Leads with Aaron know that there was a task force in City of Heroes that the bad guy was a Roman by the name of Romulus that we always thought should be voiced by Brian Blessed. If they'd ever redone that with actual audio, he should have been, because he apparently bellowed so much they had to make his text in like extra large print.
In all caps, as big as you can make it.
And it's like only one person we knew could actually make that sound
shout like
right.
that. Yeah. The man with no indoor voice.
Brian Blessed. Yes, indeed.
Bless his beard.
And like I said, he's known to Doctor Who as King Yakanos from the Trial of a Time Lord season of Doctor Who, which albeit is not the greatest season in the world, but I can't fault his particular character.
I can't fault his particular character nor his story that much.
No, it's probably the best of the Trial of the Time Lord stories.
Mm-hmm. It's actually a follow-up to a previous decent episode, too, so...
Even with its, completely horrific ending.
Which, thankfully, they retconned, at least in show.
Later in the thing, just not in that particular segment. So you leave
So you
that
have to
going,
sit
oh
through
my
it, yeah.
God. And
Yeah.
Bill, I don't know if Bill's seen these, so I don't know if he knows what we're talking about.
I haven't watched them all the way through. I've watched bits and parts of Trial of a Time Lord. I mean, I've read a bit about it. I've heard you guys talking about it. I remember it had a particular impact on Erin's experience with 80s Who.
Yeah, it was about the point that she turned off of 80s Who. We were supposed to cover Trial of a Time Lord next season on Unearthly Podcast, but with class, we're gonna
we have to pick 8 episodes to trim off that schedule.
And so that particular arc might be it, but we'll try to get to it another time.
Yeah. Well, we're eventually.
Well,
gonna cover
it also
all
depends on when in the year class comes out, because we don't know that yet.
Yeah, we're
Just yet.
guessing that it's going to be more or less around March, which is when our season 6 is supposed to begin. But it may be more like May. We don't know yet.
Yeah, we don't know yet for sure. We'll have to wait and see, just like everybody else.
Yep.
Anything else we wanted to bring up? We got like 10 minutes.
Nope, I haven't been to see any new movies recently.
Regarding recent movie announcements, there has been a new trailer for a Gamera reboot, which is the big non-Toho kaiju from the I believe late 60s, early 70s.
Daiei, I believe, was the
Daiei,
creator.
yes, there we go. That's what I was looking for the right way to pronounce that.
He's also well known for fans of particularly early Mystery Science Theater 3000, because I think they covered most of those within the first couple of
They covered at
public.
least
I know they
half
covered
the
at the very
franchise.
least one of a few. I wasn't sure how many.
And
They covered at least 4 of them.
and of course has been made immortalized by their phrase, Gamera is really neat. He is full of turtle meat. That's why we love Gamera.
Speaking of kaiju announcements, there has also been announced today, as far as I can tell, that a new movie is coming out in 2020 titled Godzilla vs. Kong, due to the fact that Warner Brothers has their King Kong franchise, and Legendary, of course, has Godzilla, although that might be through Warner Brothers as well, but they're co-producing either way. This is part of what appears to be a new Godzilla cinematic universe, which is nothing new to Godzilla other than the fact that now it's post-Avengers, but Godzilla's always been known to have a shared universe with many kaiju. Godzilla
Didn't
is
they
also...
do a King Kong versus Godzilla like back in the 60s or 70s?
It was
Yes.
the third Godzilla movie
Yep.
ever was King Kong versus Godzilla.
So they're really going back to the classic pool on this one.
Well, that's pretty standard with Godzilla. For instance, Godzilla 2 is going to feature Mothra, Rodan, and King Ghidorah, which most of the big Godzilla movies do. So this is... all of these are basically the 21st century taking its stab at these classic Godzilla tropes.
I don't know. I don't know if I could actually stand Mothra without the little girls doing the...
Oh, they have to bring
They
them
might
back.
have
If they
them. I
don't do
don't-
it, then they'd be ruining it.
Yes,
yeah,
they
I agree. They are an important part of the Mothra mythos.
Yes.
I'm kind of hoping Godzilla 4 is Mechagodzilla then, because that was rumored to be Godzilla 2, and obviously it won't be at this point, but that also gives them time to come up with an original idea for it, because that would mean we'd have at least 8 years before Godzilla 4.
So, if they're modernizing the whole mythos, does that mean instead of the regular chant, it'd have the twin little girls singing J-pop?
I think they could modernize the original just a touch, but not too far, though. It still needs to sound somewhat classical, I would think, to make the feel right.
Speaking of which, I do sometimes, speaking of modern Japanese music at least, I sometimes realize that I'm walking around with the theme song for Dragon Ball Super stuck in my head. Which is interesting because I don't even speak the language.
You would not believe the weird stuff that I have done, that I have sung in Japanese during the course of... I remember one time walking through our local grocery store, Woodman's, singing the Japanese opening to Sailor Moon.
Ah.
I think that was Bob and me doing that. It was, and it was no reason at all, except I think the fact that we had, opening, closing theme mix CDs, and I think it came up like one of the last things before we went into the store, so it earwormed ourselves into our brain. And, we've done the Japanese opening to Tenchi Muyo, OAV, all this stuff. I tend to occasionally have moments where I start singing. I sing the opening to Space Battleship Yamato quite frequently.
Sekiyama,
For
both English and
television
Japanese.
news, we have Star Wars Rebels Season 2 starts tonight, and Arrow Season 4 and Flash Season 2 started earlier this week.
Actually started last week.
Last week?
Yep.
No. They were the...
Yes. Flash and Arrow episodes once were last week. I just recorded
I'm
episode
thinking
2 of
this
Arrow.
week because I watched them Saturday.
Yes.
Or Sunday. Probably Sunday. But yeah, so there would have been a new episode last night and a new episode today.
Mm-hmm. I noticed them both. I rewatched the episode tonight right before we podcasted, and I noticed Star Wars Rebels was on the recorder. I'm like, oh yeah, that's something else I'm gonna have to watch now. All right, it's like my poor DVR, poor DVR.
You need to make an expansion for that sucker.
It's at least Aaron and I are more or less keeping tabs with it, because Walking Dead also started on Sunday.
I still Power Rangers ended its mid-season break in August, and I realized it in late September, and I have yet to watch a single episode of Power Rangers from this fall because of all the other shows I'm catching up on.
Yeah, this is really kind of a geek renaissance for television. I mean, if you think about it, nearly every major live network has a show worth watching. CBS is doing Supergirl, starting at the end of the month. ABC has Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. NBC's doing Heroes. Fox has Gotham. CW, of course, has Flash, Arrow. So, yeah, no matter what, I mean, all the networks are getting, DVR love from me at this point. And then, of course, you've got AMC with Walking Dead, and who's doing Star Wars Rebels? Disney XD, I believe.
Sounds right.
Sounds about
And
right.
everything is just like, Jesus, people.
Oh, and Evil Dead is coming back on TV
Ash
now,
versus
too.
Evil Dead, which is
I haven't read any articles, but I have seen headlines. Apparently, I believe the new season of Ninja Turtles, which starts at the end of this month, is going to have a crossover with the 87 Turtles.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Oh, God damn it.
Gotta see that now.
Whether or not the 2009 Turtles will also appear, as far as I know, has not been stated.
They should. That was decent enough.
Yeah.
Maybe Turtles Forever 2?
Turtles Forever 2!
That would be awesome. But, all right. I don't know how much more my DVR can take.
It's only gonna be a couple episodes, probably.
Yeah, I know. It's just everything that's being recorded on there. I think I'm already at 57% capacity. And it's the seasons have just started. And thus far, the only one that's not impressing me right now is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is ho-humming me at the moment. Gotham had some serious oh crap moments in the last couple of weeks.
Shield seems to be a slow burn. As soon as it reaches halfway, all of a sudden it'll go crazy.
Flash, it's no secret.
When's the next MCU movie? Is it Civil War?
I think so.
So my guess is that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. will kind of coast along till Civil War and then will ramp up, because that's what it seems to do every time.
Possibly. Yeah, the MCU, I don't know. I thought there was something coming out. But we had it big with Ant-Man.
Oh, yeah.
And, yeah, Civil War. Actually, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. should be over by Civil War. Because Civil War doesn't come out till May, and that's usually when... so it may have Olympia...
When did Age of Ultron come out?
Age of Ultron came out May 1st.
And Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I think, ended 2 weeks later.
So Civil War is May 6th.
Okay, so it'll be around the end of the season then, if not the end of the season.
Depends on how long their breaks are.
Their breaks are just long enough for a new season of Agent Carter normally, so unless Agent Carter runs longer this year, it'll probably be about the same.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that runs right during the Christmas middle of it. It looks like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is the same length and started a little later this year by about a week, so...
So there might be some chance for something to come in.
Yeah, it looks like it'll end about May 19th, May 18th, so yeah, you're going to have like a week or two where they can deal with
it's not
War
technically
stuff.
news, but is time travel worth discussing? If I'm remembering my dates right, as of now, it being midnight, I believe it's Back to the Future 2 day. Am I right about that?
No, I think it's the
15th or
21st.
16th? Was it the 21st? And am I completely wrong?
I thought it was like the 21st or something like that, because the reason why I know this is because a particular game I like to play called Rocket League is getting the DeLorean. which will
When
be
is
the
Pepsi-
first permanently flying car in the game.
When is Pepsi Perfect coming out?
It is, by the way, October 21st, 2015.
Oh, so I'm a week
21st.
ahead.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I'm
So-
a week ahead, and Matt was right. Not that I had reason to doubt you anyway, but it's good to have confidence.
You can remember that next week when we podcast.
Yes.
I actually just wikied it really quick and went, oh yeah,
Oh,
October 21st.
Pepsi. Okay, what also threw me off was that Pepsi Perfect started being released on October 5, and will be. Oh no, it announced it on October 5, but it will start coming out on October 21. Okay.
Anyway, I think we should get to the 5-minute challenge now.
Yes.
Probably should.
Probably.
Showing this off really quick for this stream, by the way. So who's gonna do it? Is it gonna be up to me now? I know Bill doesn't want to do it, and I think Randy, you did it last week, didn't you?
No, I did not do it last week because I was fuzzy.
I could have sworn you did last week. Or did I do it last week?
You did it last week.
I must have done it last week then. Okay.
Huh.
My memory's getting fuzzy now.
You're getting old, Matt.
My hair is gray, my beard is long. I had prunes today.
And, I'm saying this being, about 5 years older than you?
Well, it depends. Hi there, everybody.
Don't do that, Matt.
No, don't. Seriously, don't. It's
What's the
bad.
matter, Tim?
I loved the fact that he used to do that and freak the heck out of my Australian friend, but I don't need that while trying to compose for 5-minute for a 5-minute summary.
Alrighty, got the stopwatch ready.
All right, give me a countdown.
Okay, start in 3, 2, 1, go.
We start this episode with the Doctor discussing bootstrap paradoxes and how they work. We don't know what this is going to actually have to rely on the episode with, and before we can figure that out, we cut straight to the Doctor landing in 1980s in the village where basically it was flooded where they were before. And he says they've arrived around the same time that the spaceship did, and they see that almost immediately. They discover the spaceship without the writing on it and everything is essentially just a funeral hearse led by the original ghost, Mr. Top Hat, who turns out to be a funeral director carrying the body of the Fisher King, a alien invader who had conquered his people for 10 years before being overthrown himself. However, as the Doctor goes to report this to Clara, Clara, of course, tells the Doctor about his ghost and the fact that the ghost is not reciting the same things the others. He's reciting names. While this is going on, our funeral director gets himself killed, and the writing appears on the wall of the spaceship. The Doctor, of course, comes out from the TARDIS and notices this, and they all try to make a flee back after the Fisher King starts roaring. They get trapped, have to split up, and the young female with the Doctor dies. Her name was next on the list. The Doctor realizes, of course, that the next name on the list after that is Clara, and he's not about to let that happen. He has a brief conversation with his ghost where it's the temple will open tonight, is said. And other than that, he decides to try to depart in the TARDIS, which does not help because they land half an hour before they got there the first time. Or half an hour back, just as they'd landed before, realizing that he is stuck in a loop. He watches as they talk to the funeral director, and when the young male with him tries to pop out to rescue the young woman, he has to tackle him down, ripping his coat, something that is shared with his ghost. This makes him realize he has to face the Fisher King. Meanwhile, back in the future, the ghost of the Doctor has released the other ghosts, and the ghost of the young woman has also appeared. Claire and the others have trapped themselves back in the Faraday cage, but has accidentally left their phone out among the ghosts who have taken it with them. They decide the young man there, who has never seen the writing, is perfectly capable of going to rescue the phone, and they send him off. The ghosts ignore him, and he is eventually finds the phone in the cafeteria, after which the door seals behind him, as the ghosts have basically set a trap. Meanwhile, the doctor basically confronts the Fisher King, who basically tells him that this is all his master plan to bring down an invasion fleet. And then the doctor says it's too late. He had already wiped the writing from the wall, and the Fisher King throws him aside and goes to investigate. Meanwhile, Clara and the young lady have gone out looking for the guy, discovers the trap, and they're all fleeing. Meanwhile, the sarcophagus that they had found in the church in the previous episode starts a countdown to opening. The Fisher King goes out, checks the hearse, discovers the writing is still there, but on his way back, one of the power cells that the doctor had stolen from there detonates by the dam, causing it to flood, ending the Fisher King. Back in the future, the sarcophagus opens, the doctor pops out, called it, and uses his sonic sunglasses to mimic the sound of the Fisher King, sending all the ghosts running into the Faraday cage, where the hologram of the doctor's ghost vanishes. He then uses the sonic sunglasses to remove the writing from everybody's eyes, and they all ponder their futures as the young man that survived with the doctor mourns the loss of the person he loved and convinces the two remaining that were with Clara to reveal that they loved each other to each other. And the doctor then goes off with Clara in the TARDIS, asking where did he get the idea to do all this from in the first place? Paradox. End.
You did it in 04:55.
Wow. I thought I'd be over.
Wow. Good on you.
Just 5 seconds.
You're getting closer to that 5-minute mark. I don't know if that's on purpose or not, but
Hey, if I'm managing to compose so it's taking exactly 5 minutes, life is cool. Okay, so let's start our... there's only 4 of us tonight, so let's go ahead to what we liked.
Oh, general thing I liked. I liked the Fisher King. He was not overused, he was not underused, and he had another really well done practical effects costume. Which, again, I can't help but to keep reminding everybody that, damn, their practical effects are so awesome. Why don't they do more of these? BBC, seriously, cut back your CG budget, put it back into practical effects, and you'll get a lot more views.
I don't know, they're getting plenty of ratings as it is.
They could be higher.
Doctor Who is pretty much its international flagship at this point.
It is, but it could draw in so much more attention if they just do it the right way.
Still, I mean, we are seeing a lot
more
more
wobbly
better
sets.
costume.
More wobbly sets. Oh.
They're not that wobbly. I didn't see any walls wobble today, did you?
That's what I mean. We need more practical effects. We need sets that wobble.
Real practical sets don't wobble.
As I slowly upgrade Bill from baseball bat to sledgehammer.
I already told you, we need to go with the cricket bat. It's all cricket, my friend. It's all cricket.
Man, you gotta know what a crumpet is before you know can do cricket.
I was waiting for that reference.
Bill, what did you like best about the episode overall?
I'm going to go with the fact that this is something that's fairly rare for the Moffat era in general, that the intricacies and difficulties of certain types of time travel are addressed, and that they're really, that Toby Whithouse really goes all out to really hammer home what they can and cannot do.
Yeah, at the same time, I feel he did that a little too much. The opening, a bootstrap paradox narration was kind of like, I'm looking at that when I'm airing this going, seriously? they're telling us to check what a bootstrap paradox is now, after
It's
Yeah,
for the kids in the audience.
9
that part was a little
series.
iffy. That's also a little fourth wally, but I'm just within the context of the episode after the opening at least.
Yeah, well, the fourth wall breakage there, I'm kind of getting to be kind of a 12th Doctor thing, because he did the same thing in Listen,
Yep.
where he addresses the audience in a lecture. It's like the exact same thing.
And the talking to yourself scene where
Mm-hmm.
you don't know if he's talking to himself or talking to the non-existing creatures that he thinks are there.
So apparently, this Doctor plays fast and loose with the fourth wall.
But the thing where this one's a little better than that is, judging by the conversation with Clara at the very end of the episode, you get the impression that the fourth wall is actually Clara.
Mm-hmm. But you don't realize that till the end.
Right.
I don't know. In a way, it reminds me of there was an anime series I like, Nadesico, that as part of it they did this bit that they did called Nazadani Nadesico, or the hows and whys of Nadesico, where they had explained things that were going on to the audience, being everybody on the ship. It reminds me a bit of that. Except no companion in a cat suit, but I digress. Anyway, but no, it just seemed to be a little heavy-handed for me, considering, we've dealt with this for 9 series now. We know what a bootstrap paradox is, and if we don't, we need to be hit over the head because we haven't been really paying attention then.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
That, or you're one of the younger audience members.
To be fair, I
and you need
think
to
this is
explain.
the first time they've actually used the words in the episode rather than us just saying it about it.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, and the thing is, though, I was checking the internet on what's considered to be a bootstrap paradox. The TV tropes page for this is called a stable time loop and also a predestination loop. I would argue that those are not necessarily the same thing,
Yeah.
but a bootstrap paradox can result from a predestination loop.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Whereas the predestination loop is, you have to do this thing because it's happened before. The bootstrap paradox is the detritus of stuff that apparently appears out of nowhere because of the predestination loop.
Such as the Fez and Day of the Doctor, which I
yes,
think we left
Fez
out of our opening montage.
Oh, we did, didn't we?
Yeah, that was I had thought of it, but I forgot to write it down when I was giving Matt a list of things that would be great to get images of. Because I was writing it down in a hurry because I was
Should've
actually
totally
late
grabbed that
for.
Fez. Dang it.
I was late for a meeting across town when I was writing that list down. Anyway, yeah, that would have been good.
Yeah.
Do you have Erin's what she liked, Bill?
Yes. Erin had the intense atmosphere, especially with the Fisher King chasing the Doctor and the others through the abandoned city. Which is a little funny because while I was watching that chase scene, because of something I'll mention later, I had Scooby-Doo music playing in my head.
Oh, cool.
Let's split up, gang. Yeah.
Oh,
I
murder.
don't know. I don't think anything could beat the actual Scooby-Doo montage they did in one of the worst episodes of Doctor Who ever, Love and Monsters.
Right.
Because that was deliberately a direct Scooby-Doo montage.
Pretty much.
With them running through doors and running out different doors, it was pretty much... That's where they went with it. Okay, Tim, how about you? What did you like?
Well, I think someone took what I liked in general, in that I really loved how it just was upfront about dealing with the mechanics of time travel.
So Bill mentioned it a bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the explanation was heavy-handed, but I think the mechanics themselves came off fairly well. The only thing that I had of annoyance is that they were dealing in a predestination loop, and what's her face died in one and appeared causality style in the other. And if they're in a predestination loop, she should have always been there. So
True.
that bothered me slightly because it's two different laws of time, two contradictory laws of time being operated on at the same time, which I have said is a hallmark of bad time writing. But at the same time, I think that's my only bitch.
Yeah, and to be honest, I'm with the party that says that if it's loose enough to have her suddenly kill him, suddenly appear in the future, it should be also loose enough for you to save her and not have her appear in the future again.
And by the way, her appearing there at the end does remind me of something I was going to mention if we had time in The Witch's Familiar, but we really didn't, and that is at least the version of time travel that's present in Star Wars, which in the no longer canon original Star Wars universe, is essentially the idea that you can't actually change the past, but changes you make in the past influence the future. For instance, you can when you change things, people will suddenly remember that they were remembering it wrong. Things like that. Things like, new memories or a ghost popping up where there wasn't one before. Things like that, but that it wouldn't actually change any events, and that's sort of like what we're seeing in these two stories.
Yes and no. I'll explain later.
I did like the opening scene, set up this is gonna be a very tongue-in-cheek, self-aware type thing that I liked. I'm a big fan of fourth wall breaking.
Of course, you're also a stage actor, so.
Yeah.
So, one that can't wait till the Deadpool movie comes out next year. Because Deadpool takes the fourth wall, breaks it, stomps on the pieces, kicks it into a corner, and
that brings a
proceeds
kick. Come on,
we'll literally take the fourth wall. You will see him grab the fourth wall, rip it out.
He has jumped the fourth wall several times by now. Literally, one of his attacks in a fighting game is taking his health bar and beating somebody over the head with it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway. Randy, your favorite overall thing?
Oh... I think I have to go with the direction in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
I actually liked the way this was filmed. From how the cutscenes worked to everything else, it seemed to be just nice and tightly shot. All right, no comments on that? All right, what didn't you like?
Didn't like. I think it needed more Fisher King. We got what we got to see on screen was really good, but we didn't really get to see a whole heck of a lot of him, sadly.
Just hear him menacing.
Yeah, most of it was hearing him, and a couple of shadow casts, and only saw him on screen, 3 times?
About that, yeah.
Yeah, we could have used a little more Fisher King.
All right. Bill, how about you?
I'm going to have a similar complaint to what I had last time, but to a lesser extent. And that's that this episode feels padded in some spots. It's not as noticeable as last time, but there's at least 2, if not 3 conversations that they have at least 2, if not 3 times. And I feel like that something could have been done differently with that time, but that they were just stretching out the story to make it fit an hour and a half.
So, do you feel that if they had cut these extra stuff, they could have actually fit the entire story into one 45-minute chunk?
Maybe. They probably would have had to trim in a few other places.
Yeah.
But I do think the important points could have been told in one 45-minute episode.
I think it would still be a little too chunky.
Like I think they had an hour. I think they had an hour worth of material and felt it would be easier to pad it than to cut it.
Yeah, pretty much. It would be just a little bit too much to actually fit in a normal single episode.
Yeah, there's a rumor going out, and this is completely speculative rumor because we've heard it from a tabloid media source that the next season of Doctor Who is going to be done a la Sherlock in Sherlock length specials. And I looked back and I did the math, and basically the only difference is that instead of having part one and part two of a serial, they'd be shown back to back, because the average Sherlock length of a Sherlock episode is 85 to 90 minutes, and Doctor Who is 42 to 45. So, yeah, it'd be the same length with two-parters. And that might be why Stephen Moffat's trying it out, or it just might be pure blah. But if
Right.
that's the case, that means that they're going to have to start looking at all the episodes written with a 90-minute length in mind.
Possibly.
So these
Or,
episodes...
or they'll just have a cliffhanger in the middle for no good reason.
No,
I
it's
think
not
that
the...
happened a few times in the 80s.
Yeah, it probably
Mhm.
did. But
Here
what
and
it
there,
does...
maybe.
I'm not even talking about the cliffhanger. I'm talking is that you have Doctor Who written at three lengths right now. You have the standard 45-minute single episode length, which is 42 to 45 minutes.
Right.
You have the special, which is a
Which is
60-minute length.
50 to 70 if you want to be generous, but usually
Yeah.
about 60.
And then you have the double episode length, which is 90 minutes. Again, give or take a few minutes either way. I'm talking on average.
And
So
to be-
that means that the amount of material you must have for this episode has to fit either 1, 2, or 3 different sizes. And so by the description you're talking about, this would have worked best as a special at 60-minute length.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rather than... So they padded out what would have been a 60-minute special to a 90-minute double.
Although
And
there
whereas
is a fourth length, but they only tried it twice, and neither of them was Moffat. And that is Last of the Time Lord / The End of Time.
Yar.
But they have
Yeah.
they have not tried a 3-part length episode again.
Yeah, and usually those are, even more of a pain because that's like an old 6-part serial
Yeah.
back in the day. But
Which we haven't gotten since
The 70s?
the season finale before Shada.
so
Yeah,
yeah,
so since the 70s.
Stuck with.
Yeah,
In
not
any
the best
case-
idea.
in any case, those are really only kind of one-offs, so I'm not counting those. But we typically get at least one special a year for Christmas,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
and we get 40. The thing is, though, what we're seeing now is that these 60-minute length episodes, whereas last season would have been trimmed down to 45, are now being padded out to the double lengths.
Right.
So I don't know what that's going to, how that's, if you're going to have, if that's going to be your complaint going on through the season, is that it all seems a little padded out.
We have
If that's
2
going to
more
be an
two-parters coming up?
At
Yeah,
least.
something like that. We
we
got the
have
Zygon
the unit 1 with the Zygons, and then we have the finale.
finale. Okay, so that was what you said. What was Aaron's dislike?
Erin has. She says it'll probably come up with the others, but the bootstrap paradox and the restrictions on time travel were frustrating. This seems especially so since Moffat played fast and loose with time travel and paradoxes back in A Christmas Carol. Other than that, there wasn't anything that super annoyed me. So,
Yeah.
while I appreciated the tightening down, she did not appreciate it because it was already established that you could play loose.
Yeah, except for the fact that the Christmas Carol, I have stated for the record, is a horrible episode.
And that's exactly why I prefer it being tightened down myself.
Yeah, pretty much.
And again, it's kind of different rules of time in effect. Because A Christmas Carol was more of a causality, cause and effect style time travel. And A Christmas Carol always bugged me because the Doctor had always said prior to that he couldn't do that. And then he just went ahead and did it for shits and giggles in A Christmas Carol. It always pissed me off.
And made a rubbish time out of somebody's life.
Because again, the issue with that type of time travel, and the reason why it was a good idea not to use it here, is the fact that once you've changed it, now you have no reason to go back in time in the first place and change it.
Yep. That's part of causality loops that cause issues. It directly leads into things like the grandfather paradox, which I'm sure you're all familiar with.
I always forget whether grandfather paradox usually refers to becoming your own grandfather or killing your grandfather.
Killing your grandfather. You go back in time to meet your grandfather, which you do before you meet your grandmother. You get in an argument and you accidentally kill him. Therefore, he never met your grandmother, never had your father, who never had you. Therefore, how could you go back in time and meet your own grandfather? That's the kind of...
That's the kind of thing that makes the poor cameras in Red Dwarf explode.
That's the kind of thing that makes the universe explode, Matt.
It did.
I mean, that said, if you like, looking closely at Terminator can kind of give, well, not necessarily a description for that specific, for some of those sorts of changes. The idea that there was a timeline that actually worked in which these happened, and then it got warped, and then warped, and then warped to become the loop that we end up seeing on screen.
Yeah, if you look at Terminator 2, it's a bootstrap paradox. The Terminator went back in time to kill Sarah Connor, got destroyed, and his parts were used by Cyberdyne to create Skynet, which in turn sent back the Terminator.
Well, even Terminator 1 is a bootstrap paradox situation, because the person, the person who sends the Reese back ends up being conceived by him.
Yeah, that one's more of a predestination loop than a bootstrap paradox. The fact is, the reason I call the Cyberdyne one a bootstrap is because where did Skynet come from originally? And then
Skynet came from itself.
Yeah, and that's the key mark of a bootstrap paradox.
But yeah, for those who haven't looked into it, I'm pretty sure it was Wikipedia. The Wikipedia article on Terminator timelines is a very interesting read when it comes to the idea of alternate timelines and timelines being changed by time travel.
That was kind of the emphasis of Genesis, which, by the way, both Sarah Connor Chronicles and Terminator Genesis both kind of also work with the bootstrap paradox, because in both cases, Terminators are sent from the future to deliberately try to create Skynet. So, again, Skynet's creating itself, and apparently its latest iteration looks like Matt Smith.
Or has its voice, either way.
Either way, Back to the Future, which we were talking about earlier, does more causality loops, as everything Marty McFly does changes the future. You see it earlier being 2 Pines Mall. He hits the tree, it becomes Lone Pine Mall. Yeah. Little things like that.
Yes, Bill?
That reminds me, I was thinking of possibly doing a mini review of that Four Doctors comic special, which does use that sort of time law. Well, I don't want to go off on a tangent on that now.
Yeah, not right now.
Not right now.
Yeah.
Anyway. So that was Aaron's. Tim's, what was your dislike?
My general dislike was The Undertaker when he was alive. What do you call that species?
Tivolian.
Tivolian. I liked him much better when he was dead.
Apparently most of the universe agrees with you, Tim. That's why they keep oppressing them.
Because they're annoyingly pleasant, to the point of sickening.
It's just that I couldn't see his ghost being the same person of when he was alive. The other dead people, I could sort of see them acting like that when they were dead, even if they were being compelled by the Fisher King to act so.
That's the thing, though, Tim. All the ghosts acted the same. You
Yeah,
literally
they
could
didn't really
cop-
show any personality.
And so their personalities are really different when alive. Oh, pardon me, I had a sneeze coming out.
It's almost like a form of cyber conversion where they borrow parts from the people, but otherwise just place a programmed personality into them.
Yeah.
Jinx, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
What I didn't like about this episode personally was part of the bootstrap paradox, and the fact that Toby Whithouse went back to Stephen Moffat's favorite bag of tools, and went and had to play the Doctor's Destined to Die card.
Yeah.
It is literally, although I must admit, he basically did in 2 episodes what Moffat takes an entire season to do.
Which again is far less annoying. At least they made a threat
Although
and
it
then
doesn't help that
turned it
it's the
around on
second
us.
time this season that's happened.
Yeah, I'm wondering how many times are we going to get this whole thing where I'm about to die.
Next episode, we're going to be, we found a record of the Doctor being murdered by Odin. What are we doing today? Meeting Odin.
Huzzah! I think.
Okay. At that point, we realized that the entire writing staff just has their lips attached to Moffat's ass. Let's write
next
the stuff.
episode does have a co-writing credit by Moffat on it.
God.
I
Eating
think that has to
bugger.
do more with Maisie Williams' character, because like
It
I said,
might.
I really think they're grooming her to be a companion.
Possibly, yes.
I think I mentioned this last week.
Oh shit! If she's a Viking companion, Leela 2.0 maybe.
Maybe,
Ooh.
but we'll have to see how she fares in the second
upcoming-
episode too.
yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have to see how she does in the next couple of episodes here.
Oh
but
yeah, it could be multiple characters played by the same actress, a la Dodo.
A la Clara in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to remember who's writing it. Anyway,
Wah, wah, wah.
the big question is,
How do
We
they
know-
cram
we
all
know-
that gram?
we know the fact that Game of Thrones is wrapping up on HBO soon. I think not this season, but next season is its finale season.
Seems likely.
After that
'Cause
Game
there's
of
only
Thrones,
one more book.
after that Game of Thrones will be done.
Until they announce the prequel series, which you know
It
they
doesn't
will.
matter because
She won't be
Go
one.
somebody
Williams,
younger.
yeah, Maisie Williams is thus a free actress, meaning she's going to be looking for work.
Although she does seem to be doing fairly well doing movies in between seasons anyway. And other roles, so she seems to have no trouble finding work. But she should be, yeah, she could certainly be available for a new regular television role.
That's what I'm stating, is that that would be almost perfect for her to slot in as the new companion with Coleman on the outgoing. I suspect this is Moffat's on test idea to see how fans react to her.
Possibly.
That's similarly. I had actually mentioned while I was watching it. I kind of get the impression watching this season that they're kind of doing what they did with Mel, and that they're introducing new characters that could potentially be companions, seeing how they feel about them, and then deciding which one they want to keep as a companion.
I don't remember them doing that with Mel.
Well, Ace was originally going to be a one-off character until, as they were wrapping up, they pretty much asked if she wanted to stay.
That's not an unusual thing that Doctor Who has done.
Right, but
Adric was also supposed to be a one-off character that they decided to change at the last minute.
I believe the article where I had read that mentioned that I think one of the The one where they went to the 50s that I always forget the name of. That was a Mel episode, right? Or no?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, I believe they mentioned that in that episode there was somebody else that they were testing, and I think there was another one as well that they just tried out a few, and that Sophie Aldred seemed to be the best fit.
Yeah, I wonder if they did the same thing, because there was a character in Paradise Towers called Pex that would have made a decent companion if they hadn't decided to have him die.
That might have been the third one then.
The wannabe hero.
Considering there are only 4 episodes that season, there wouldn't be any other to choose from, really.
Yeah,
There definitely
I
wasn't
don't-
anybody in Time in the Ronnie.
That was what I was about to say. That was more of a getting to know Sylvester McCoy
I mean,
episode.
granted, if Time in the Ronnie came out this season, there would have been an article in the Radio Times about whether or not the Ronnie should be a new companion.
Arg.
No. I want Big Finish to do a villain series with Missy and the Ronnie as traveling companions.
Ah,
They just look at each other and raise their eyebrows.
Oh. The first serial should be like, Girls' Night Out.
The Ronnie just looks at Missy, and Missy looks back at her. Oh my.
All right. So where were we?
was that your?
That was Randy's.
Did we- Yeah, that was. I think that
Worst.
was your dislike thing. I don't think we started
Yeah.
favorite scenes yet.
Okay. So favorite scenes, Matt.
Oh. I have to say my favorite scene is where all the cards fall together, where we suddenly realize what the Doctor has planned. After having to realize he has to face the Fisher King, he tricks him into going outside, sets up the bomb, blows the dam, and is inside of the coffin, if you will, and is sealed away safely until everyone else accidentally has him wake up, where he comes out to save the day, and the TARDIS also knows to follow.
I feel like you just described like the last 5 to 10 minutes of the
Yeah,
episode.
you pretty
But-
much described multiple scenes there,
Well,
Matt.
that was a tiny little cluster. It wasn't like the end of it or anything. It was or essentially the tricking the Fisher King and getting out alive.
Mind you, we had completely miscalled that Fisher King thing. We thought he was summoning the water. Instead, he's looking at it and yelling
Yeah.
at it in rage
Yeah.
and fury.
Yeah, we totally miscalled that, but I do recall both you and me, Ran, we had it right where we were like, bet you the Doctor's in the coffin.
I know I said that. I don't know about you.
Oh, I remember
That's right. I
thinking
forgot.
that.
I was going to mention that at the start of this episode before the news. I forgot.
I-
That's why we have a
really
we have a discussion thread on Skype. After watching the episode, I pretty much just put hashtag called it.
I remember thinking that before we even started the podcast last week.
I
might
think I
have called it
remember
out first
speculating
because-
that to Bob. I couldn't remember if I mentioned it on the podcast or I mentioned it to Bob, because after watching the episode at GeekCon meetings, Bob and I will try to run through and figure out.
Because I remember you managed to blurt it out before I did. That's what I recall from last week in particular. Is you took my thunder.
Yeah,
If you want thunder, that'll be next week.
hashtag called it. Yep. All right. So Bill, your favorite scene?
My favorite scene, I actually had 2 choices. My first, I was going to say the confrontation with the Fisher King, which is basically what Matt had covered.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go with the scene at the end where the Doctor finally addresses, after all these years of random paradoxes, finally addresses the fact that something is a bootstrap paradox and it's kind of weird.
You know, the thing is, I actually did want him to say so. Who really did write Beethoven's Fifth? And actually, you look a closer look at the bust and realizes it looks vaguely like the 12th Doctor.
Ah,
Do.
It just happened to notice that Beethoven happens to have attack eyebrows.
And this brushed back wavy hairdo.
You know,
Aaron mentioned
Wee
that
bit
her
aggressive.
favorite scene was meeting Prentice and learning about the Tivoli tradition of being conquered. I do believe that was actually mentioned in the God Complex, but that was long enough ago that people would probably have either not seen it or
I
forgotten
thought I remembered them discussing a race that liked to be conquered before.
Yeah.
It's
She says,
It's nice-
rewatching the episode, she still giggled at the part where Prentice tells the doctor he has all kinds of instruments the doctor can oppress him with.
he does make it sound a bit kinky.
Yes, he does. You get the impression he's going to open up a maintenance hatch, and there's going to be, a ball gag, whips and chains, a gimp suit.
It's a planet of subs.
50 Shades of Grey in space.
God.
Oh, yes.
It understands why people can only
the
be...
perfect planet for the Master.
Okay, so now I just have Missy's... now I mentally see Missy there dressed in leather screaming, "Call me queen!"
And smacks another
not
one.
Right.
She whips another one.
Oh, God.
And tases another.
Tim, your favorite scene?
Well, my favorite scene was actually the scene where the deaf woman is being stalked by the ghost with the axe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was a good scene.
Yes, it was very well done.
Her moment
Very
of Daredevil.
filmed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She barely managed to call that the last second, too.
Mm-hmm.
She knows something's up, but she's not quite sure. Feels down and just, oh my god, something's coming behind me. Duck!
Yeah. So my
Yeah.
favorite scene is actually where the doctor springs out of sarcophagus and just one-liners, the don't kiss me, morning breath. And I'm just like, God, I love it when he does shit like that. Because it's that same kind of one-liner, flippant attitude that was like, with him in the chair. Admit it, you've all had this exact same nightmare. It's that same flip. I love it when he has that attitude.
Mm-hmm.
Just me
So
in the chair, sipping tea. Don't ask me where I got it from.
Yeah, I love it when he does shit like that. So that was my favorite scene. Least favorite scene, Matt.
Oh. To be honest, the one death scene was kind of meh.
Oh, with what's her face dying?
Yeah. With the one, with the woman that traveled with the doctor. It seemed kind of pointless, to be honest.
Yeah, she seemed like she was just like, okay, I'm dead now. I think the shot happened off screen.
Yeah, the shot even happened off screen and everything. Just really meh.
All right.
Like you kind of think, like I kind of thought, like at the end they were going to turn around and be like, oh, she's not really dead. She got better.
That or she was faking it and the guy actually managed to save her.
Yeah, but no. Okay.
Oh well.
Suddenly
Anyway.
lost a lot of static. Bill, your least favorite scene.
I'm actually going with the scene immediately following that, where what's his name confronts the doctor about it. Particularly, he says, "I've only just figured that out regarding what the list is about." But at the same time, they were acting the entire time as if they all knew. They were trying to convince O'Donnell to stay in the TARDIS. She split up, presumably because she knew she was the next to die. And then all of a sudden he acts like it's this big surprise that he's just realizing now. And I'm like, why? Like, why else would the doctor have tried to get her to stay in the TARDIS? Specifically after hearing that list. And you agreed with the doctor that she should stay in the TARDIS, unless you just really thought that she should just stay in a cage.
Oh, I think he was being overly protective.
Is what his original intention might have been, yeah. Possibly.
All right. So
Erin mentions, quoting her, she says, "I can't really think of anything I hated. The doctor didn't age when he was in the suspended animation chamber because of the obvious. Cass detected the vibrations of the axe behind her like I thought she should. At first I thought the doctor was cruel in letting O'Donnell get killed, but then I realized what he was saying and that it couldn't be changed. So yeah, I guess my question is, why did he think he could change Clara's fate? So I guess her vote is going for when the doctor tried to get in the TARDIS and it said hell no."
Yeah.
All right. Tim, your least favorite.
Oh, that's a tough one. I think my least favorite, and this is my least favorite literally because it's still one of my favorites, but it's my least favorite, is the scene where the Doctor comes out of the coffin. Because that was a bit too predictable for me.
Well, mind you, I did call that in the previous podcast.
Yes, at least half of us called that.
Yeah. So, like I'm saying, it's still I still like the scene. It's just I like all the other scenes better.
I actually liked it because I liked the flippant attitude of the Doctor on there. And we knew the Doctor had to live. I mean, that's freaking obvious. You know, he still has...
it's called Doctor Who!
Yeah, he still has 2/3 of a season to go through.
Next week, we've secretly replaced the Doctor with a Doctor Ghost. Let's see if the audience realizes.
Okay, my least favorite scene had to been the opening Bootstrap Paradox lecture.
I thought it was fine.
Well, it's not the fourth wall breakage. It's just I just find it, as I mentioned, I just find it heavy-handed that they're explaining out Bootstrap Paradox to us now.
Well, you also kind of gotta remember it's a family show, so the kids probably don't understand it.
We've had Bootstrap Paradoxes are so frequent that the cast calls them Moffat loops. That means that they've had freaking Bootstrap Paradoxes from 2010 to now, and they're just explaining it to us now. It just seemed to be a little too much, yeah, we know, get on with it to me.
And again, I'm saying that there's like kids in like Britain that are like under the age of 10 that probably don't quite get it yet. Now they understand it.
Did they not watch the previous story?
Yeah, I know.
We don't know when they started watching. They're young.
Did they not watch The Magician's Apprentice and The Witch's Familiar? Because that would be kind of weird.
I mean, you know, as we mentioned, River Song's a freaking Bootstrap Paradox. Clara Oswald is a freaking Bootstrap Paradox. Not any particular episode, the character.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I it just hits me as a little too much on my opinion. So,
speaking of paradoxes, how would you guys have felt if he's like, we can't go back and save O'Donnell because then the Reapers will come out of the sky?
Well, technically, that's
how I was interpreting the "there are rules." Obviously,
that is part of the "there are rules." Basically, what the Reapers are doing are, you know, defending against huge casualty failures. As I mentioned earlier about the grandfather paradox ending universes, I literally mean that. Because if you think about what that happens, time would split into two parallel time tracks, except they're not parallel. They're existing in the exact same place, exact same time, with no variations or anything in them. So you would have basically two masses of universes trying to occupy the same space simultaneously.
Or at the very least, I mean, even if it's successfully split into two time streams, what would happen is one time stream would still exist with the time traveler having winked out of existence, and then the other time stream would cease to exist because of the massive causality failures.
Actually, it would form a Mobius loop. You would literally have 1 second, one timeline exists, 1 second, the other timeline exists, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. The universe can't take that kind of strain. Anyway. It's now 15 to the end of the podcast.
I do just want to mention, I think we went through our favorite and our least favorite scenes with nobody mentioning the guitar.
I like the guitar. I actually like the opening theme.
Oh, yeah.
As done with the guitar. I actually hope they keep that. I honestly do.
I didn't realize that was, like, I knew that had been recorded, but I didn't know it was actually part of the episode, and was kind of shocked when it started playing. But it was performed well.
Yes.
Yes.
So I think that was actually Capaldi performing it too.
Quite possibly, yes.
So let's go ahead and give our final ratings, or actually final thoughts first.
Final thoughts.
Matt.
Standing on its own, there was a little bit of fluff. There was maybe one weak scene that I can honestly call out, and beyond that, a fairly solid show. Very nice effects. For the few that we really needed, which was mostly a couple laser blasts and a huge wave of water. Oh, and the ghost effects, of course, which are actually still from the previous episode and still well done. Tied together, it's a nicely knit little constant circle of what causes everything and leads back into finally figuring everything out and bringing everything to a bookend. Nice and tidy and better than what Moffat can do half the time.
All right. Bill.
My final thoughts on the serial as a whole, I'm going to say that in general, it's an enjoyable story. I do feel like it is a better story that got stretched out and was kind of weakened by it. No really poor scenes, but no really amazing scenes that are that contrastable either. I had something else I was going to add after that sentence, but I forgot what it was.
Don't.
Altogether, an above average episode, but just lacking a little bit to make it stand out that much compared to the average Doctor Who story.
Yeah.
Aaron's thoughts are another great hit despite the wonky paradox. Unlike previous episodes, not everyone made it out of this one alive, but it still managed an upbeat ending. This gave it a distinctive vibe similar to RTD's writing. Which is ironic because I think of the group here, she is the least RTD fan.
Yeah.
Jinx, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
All right. So, Tim.
I thought this was one of the better spooky, scary episodes I've seen. I thought the ghosts and the atmosphere of isolation, of being trapped somewhere, not being able to leave, was very well done. I liked how it was played fast and loose with sort of the rules of time travel this time, or not fast and loose, but fast and loose in the presentation anyway, which gave it a unique flavor, sort of very like a seasoning on top of a good chocolate sundae. And I think this was one of the better episodes I've seen.
All right. That it, Tim?
Yep.
All right. So I have to say, wow. We are a third of the way through Series 9, and Moffat has yet to piss me off. Something that I have not yet managed to say before since 2010. Normally, at least one episode I've kind of gone bleh on by this point, and neither this one nor its predecessor, I'm in a fairly good feeling at this point. I haven't felt. I feel the quality of this one is decent.
Mm-hmm.
It is above average, definitely. The time loops are handled in everything is tied up properly, something Moffat usually fails to do, and everything is dealt with in a factual method. There's and a lot of throwbacks to both old Moffat and old RTD era stuff in just the dialogue, makes it feel more continuity friendly than Moffat's works has in the past. All in all, it was a very enjoyable 2 episodes. So, ratings, Matt.
Grimly grinning ghosts come out to socialize, and yes, above average, which gives it about a 4.
4 flat?
4 flat.
4 flat, 4 on the floor. All right, Bill.
I'm probably going to be the negative one here. I say a 3.5. Aaron gives a 4.5.
Wow.
She really liked this episode.
Apparently.
Tim, how about you?
I'm going to give this a 4.5 as well.
Aaron and Tim really like this one.
And I'm going to give it a 4 flat.
That gives us a 4.1.
I will say it was very nearly a 4.5 for me.
Almost.
Yeah, it's probably like a 4.2. So
Yeah.
it gets rounded down to a 4 flat. So that gives it a 4.1 average.
That's right. The sentence I left out of my final thoughts is I was going to say that the good effects on the suit are kind of balanced out by the overly bright directing of episode 1. That's what I was going to say.
So yes. Averaging the scores.
Working on it.
Switching my image.
I made the mistake of not putting this in the master, so I am going to take a look where this is going to go in the rankings and just give it to you flat. A 4.1 is going to put it around 39 in our rankings.
Yeah. Mm.
Around the same level as The Curse of Fatal Death and Mummy on the Orient Express.
Nice.
Just above Death to the Daleks,
Whoa.
Closing Time, and Castrovalva.
Mm.
And below Legopolis, The War Games, and Destiny of the Dr. Shockwave.
This puts us at a 3.66 average for the 12th Doctor, which is a tenth of a point higher than our average for all Doctors combined.
So he's finally working his way up there.
This season is doing a lot better than last season, which we had a lot of.
Tremendously better.
The last story we rated below a 4 was In the Forest of the Night. The last story we rated below a 3 was Kill the Moon.
Yeah, and apparently, like, everybody on the internet loves that one, and we hated it.
Hate it so much.
Same with Listen.
Yeah.
Such a poorly done story.
And, you know, it's still not Journey to the Center of the TARDIS bad.
No.
Right.
It's not insulting to the audience, but it's some bad stuff in them.
Speaking of which, the 11th Doctor, so far we have a 3.07 rating, which is a half a point below the complete average.
I think it's mostly because Moffat really wrecked that particular Doctor. Poor Matt. He's not going to have good luck with Doctor Who until he does audios.
We reviewed definitely a strong majority of 11th Doctor stories. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Although
7,
there's a few
9.
we haven't done yet.
There's
just
12
few,
we
though.
haven't done yet. So the equivalent of one season out of the 3.5 that he did.
Some of it could redeem him, but some of it will be middle of the road again.
Oh no, sorry, he did 4 seasons because he didn't regenerate halfway through. The Ponds did.
Yeah.
Oh no, wait, 5, 6, 7. Oh no, that was 3 seasons. Just one was a long one. These split seasons screw me up, obviously.
Hi.
Just like, don't ask me how many seasons the 10th Doctor did.
How many seasons did the 10th Doctor do? Tell me, Bill.
Depends on how you count. Depends on how you count.
Tell me.
Anyway, if you enjoy listening to us, please like our videos and subscribe on YouTube, Twitch, and Mixcloud. You can sign up for, you can like and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And if you want to support us, you can go on over to patreon.com/unearthlypodcast. In the meantime, don't forget to join us next week as we talk about The Girl Who Died, written by Jamie Matheson and Stephen Moffat.
Yes.
Alrighty. With no bombshells this weekend, which is a bombshell, good night.
Good night and good luck.
May the force be with